It's so great to have the choir back. Oh my gosh. Put a little love in your heart. Well, would you want to know what life offers you in the future? In this life, or if there's an afterlife? How do you think you would respond if you had this flash of insight about what the future was going to be? Perhaps like the guru, so afraid of his future existence as a pig that he asked his student to kill him as soon as he was born. Did you wonder, as the disciple did, as he was walking away, how strange it is that you can know the future and yet not understand it at all? I was thinking a lot about this story, writing the sermon, and I read a lot of these stories, and this one was just, I was like, what would I do? When I was 14, I could not have imagined my life that I have today. Living here in Miami, I always thought I would live in Houston near my family. I'd never move. We'd all grow up together, and I'd have my family with them, and I'm a Unitarian minister now. I never thought at 14, I thought I was going to be a computer scientist. And at 14, think about this. How would I have thought if I knew today that my belief system would be that of a Buddhist practicing Zazen meditation, mindfulness, non-attachment, the transitory nature of life, as well as a panentheist believing that the divine exists in all things, and that because of that, all aspects of existence deserves to be treated with love and with respect and reverence. And a humanist, asserting the value of humanity, reason, science, as well as the importance of dealing with issues in the here and now, and not waiting for some kind of an afterlife. And a Unitarian Universalist, affirming values and principles instead of beliefs to help guide my choices as I move through an ever-changing spiritual journey. As a 14-year-old, I couldn't even imagine those things. I was a Catholic. I was deeply embedded in the Catholic religion. I attended Mass regularly. I believed in the wisdom of Jesus. I was on the church and diocesan CYO group, and I organized retreats. How would I have responded if I'd had this flash of what my future might be? A future that seems so alien to what I thought of who I was and what I would become at that time. Would I have tried to prevent this future? Would I have just accepted it? Would I have tried to understand how I could possibly change so much? This week we started an eldering group, or maybe more accurately to say, we started a conscious aging group. And in our first session, I asked the gathered to look backward and forward in their lives. I started the class with this quote by Leon Trotsky: "Old age is the most unexpected of all things that can happen to us." And then I offered a reflection about that quote by Hindu guru Ethnath Daswaran. He said, "When the first gray hair appears on our head, it is a critical juncture in life. We go to the mirror with a sinking feeling of dread and try to pluck out the evidence. One here, one there. But the more we pull, the more seem to come in. I tease my friends," he says, "by asking them, would you like to relive your adolescence?" And they all groan. Youth has a lot to offer, but so does the experience of age. In India, we have a joke about a man going to a barber and asking, "Do you have anything for gray hair?" And the barber responding, "Yes, I do. Respect." This is the paradox of life. When we cling to the body, it loses its beauty. But when we do not cling to the body, and instead use the body as an instrument given to us to serve others, it glows with a special beauty. My friends, how do you see age? Aging. Old age. From the perspective of the guru, from our story about seeing his future as something lowly and awful and to be avoided at all costs, even if it means death. Or from the perspective of the guru, when he actually becomes a piglet, experiencing it as something comforting and quite enjoyable. The conscious aging group is about exploring aging, trying to understand our past and how it has impacted us today. It's about understanding the present and what life has to offer. It's about looking forward and considering what life still has to offer. I remember during the class someone saying that we were exploring things that they had not thought about in a very long time. I call this sermon Yes and Faith, a yes and faith, because life offers us many things. And life offers different things at different times in our lives, and we all are in a different stage at different times. Aging, attitudes, physical abilities, responding to what life offers depending on what life experiences we have, and our hopefully ever-growing understanding of who we are and how we deal with change. Do we have an awareness that we are not static creatures in a consistent, never-changing world? I think it depends. It depends on what stage of life we are and how we're coping with that and what we're experiencing. When I was 14, and maybe at other times in my life, I didn't seem too keen on change. For me, life was very black and white. Yes and no. I said yes to things I was familiar with, that kept me close to home, family, friends, church. Didn't push me to be too different. I might have called myself a little nerdy at that time, maybe a little overly anxious about life. maybe a little too close to my mom. And I remember not thinking too deeply about life. And I marvel today at the person that I've become. I want to invite you for a moment to do something we sort of did in our class, is to think back on who you were in the past. Who were you when you were 14 years old? How did you interact with life? How did you view your spiritual journey? What was important to you? What were your goals? The things also that you desired, things you wanted. Now think about the answers to those same questions when you were 30. How did you interact with life? Where were you at on your spiritual journey? What was important to you? What things did you want? What goals did you have? In our class, we did, I think, 30, 40, 50, the present. And I guess as we think back on our lives, I ask you to think about when you come up against something that's going to move you, change you in some way, do you say yes and to what life offers? Yes to the new and different experience, and being open to being changed by that experience. You know, I think all of us have had yes and experiences. Think about one maybe that you've had, where you entered into that experience wholeheartedly with mind, body, spirit, and just said, you know, I'm going to be fully present here and experience whatever it has to offer. And when you did that, what was the result? Do you find yourself today looking forward to new opportunities for yes and? At certain points in our lives, yes and might seem inevitable. After we get out of high school and we leave home, that's a yes and experience. We start a job or a career, get married, start a family. When you approach those yes and experiences, what are you experiencing? Mind, body, spirit. I can tell you for me, I'm a little anxious, a little excited, a little hesitant. I approach them with a little bit of reflection, wonder. I have a lot of different feelings. My body might feel a little more tense, my stomach twisted and wondering, my mind racing through thoughts of what might happen. And you know, that little 14-year-old is still part of me, warning me not to do too many different things and not to change too much. And since I've gently, slowly moved into my 60s, that little 14-year-old voice has gotten a little louder. Do I listen? A little. But I have made a conscious choice to answer yes and to what life offers, and to look for experiences that offer new and different possibilities that I can embrace and explore and open myself up to. You know, I said earlier, I described my faith as being a Buddhist, panentheist, humanist, Unitarian, Universalist. And today, I'm comfortable with that. I don't know that I want to change that. I wonder if I was offered an opportunity, a yes and opportunity that might alter how I describe my faith walk, would I take it? Let me stop for a moment. What about your faith walk? Do you have a word or words that you use when somebody asks you what you believe or what your belief is? How many of you can describe your belief in one word? One word? A few of you, okay? How many of you, when you try to talk to somebody about your faith, have to use a few more words, some descriptors and qualifiers? Yes. When you try to explain how you accept these practices and these truths from this religion and not accept the rest, or you find yourself wanting to hold on to certain aspects of your childhood religion, maybe the beauty of the churches that you grew up in, or the connection that you felt in fellowship, but find that its teachings really are untenable for you today. What if I gave a survey? Let's try this. And I ask you to check off in the little boxes one of the following, or actually not one of the following. Let's just say I put this survey out and I said, okay, check in the box how you describe yourself spiritually. All right? And here are your choices: atheist, pagan, agnostic, Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, theist, Jew, naturalist, humanist, Wiccan, Unitarian, Universalist, Zoroastrian, Baha'i, Taoist, Confucianist, Shinto, Sikh, seeker, unsure, in process, none of the above? How many categories would you identify for yourself? 5, 2, 10, okay. I don't think you can put in none of the above, but Most Unitarian Universalists don't identify themselves as any one specific faith or belief system. And for many, when I talk with Unitarian Universalists and that we begin discussing their belief systems, the answer I often get is that they believe in something, but. So their belief is a yes, but belief. So what happens when you change that? Instead of a yes, but, what if you answer yes, and? What changes? With yes, and, you're willing to explore all parts of a belief system and sit in those parts, with those parts. Even the ones that you're not immediately drawn to, even the ones that don't seem to speak to you, for a period of time. You're willing to be open to being changed by a specific belief system. So I'm going to tell you some advice that I've given many Unitarian Universalists over the years. Advice I have taken, though I find it challenging and difficult. But also, it has been quite enriching for me. And so here's the challenge, here's the invitation that I offer you. Take a belief system and live it fully for a period of time. Let's say 6 months. And let yourself delve deeply into its texts, its beliefs, its traditions. Let it influence your decisions. What are you feeling while I ask you to do this? Anxious? Scared? Bored, maybe? Excited? Joyful, angry, impatient. This is a yes and experiment. And I wonder, is it something that you could try? If not, if this doesn't appeal to you, and I understand it might not, what are you doing to ensure you don't become stagnant in your belief system? How are you challenging yourself spiritually? Because that's part of what being a Unitarian Universalist is. It's dynamic. Because we're dynamic. We're ever-changing. The world is ever-changing. And if we just stay as we are, we become fixed, stagnant, spiritually. I want to leave you with just a thought. Beware any faith walk that does not cause you discomfort or anxiety or unease. That does not ask you to look within and ask you to look at who you are, who you were, and who you are becoming. Beware a belief system that does not ask you to look at the world through different lens and see it as if for the first time. My friends, it is easy on any faith walk to reject an idea or a belief or a tradition. It is much harder, at least for Unitarian Universalists, to say and live yes and. But as I look at Unitarian Universalism, saying yes and is what we're really all about.